also think there's something about being in a big vehicle, you have your door, the frame of the car, you're kind of in your own private little bubble. I feel like it gives people maybe a false sense of power in a lot of ways because they think, oh, well, I'm in my own space, nothing can happen to me.
Welcome back to the Modern Therapy Podcast. Today's episode is part of our Season 2 series, Everyday Habits for Your Mental Health. And we're talking about road rage, not because it's about driving, but because it reveals how our nervous system responds to stress and control. We get into why so many of us struggle with it, how it shows up behind the wheel and outside of the vehicle in everyday life, and practical ways to manage that anger in real time.
Today we are talking about a really interesting topic, road rage.
Ooh.
We had a little bit of an in-house debate before we turned on the microphones.
Cassie thinks that I struggle from road rage.
You do?
I think I have a pretty good grip on it.
And explain why you have it under control. What is your measurement?
My measurement, I don't get out of the vehicle and assault anybody. That's what. No, I think that I have learned to calm down when I
Okay,
when I
for the
feel
record,
that
you
on
never
the road.
got out and assaulted people.
I know. I'm being dramatic, but I think there would be times where I would be in a road rage incident and I would just get really heated and it can escalate very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never gotten to the point where, it's been a problem. Funny story. I know somebody, I'm not going to give any names or anything, but they had an incident where they had a full-on road rage attack and basically chased after the vehicle.
People do.
And they ended up pulling over and they got in a physical fight.
Oh my gosh.
And he really beat the guy up really bad. And
That's horrible.
Yeah, he got arrested.
Oh, that's horrible.
Ruined his life.
Wow.
Ruined his life.
See, I know we kind of laugh about it. We're being a little lighthearted about it, but it really can be very serious for people.
Yeah. Yeah. And we thought it would be an appropriate topic to discuss today because it's something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah.
And you drive every day. So getting your road rage under control, if that's something that you struggle with, is an everyday habit that can really change your life.
Agreed. Why do so many people who struggle with road rage, who struggle with driving in general, think that they're good drivers?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know, because I think I actually am a good driver.
I think I used to think I was a good driver, but
Yeah.
I think I've come to the realization that maybe I'm not.
You're a distracted driver.
I'm grateful that self-driving cars are becoming a thing because
Yes.
in 5 years, I don't think we're going to have to even have this conversation.
Do you think that's going to stop road rage?
Yeah, 100%.
At least, really, it's going to go down a lot.
I don't think there will be any road rage because the cars are going to drive themselves.
Yeah, but in 5 years, everyone's not going to have driving cars. They're just going to be
maybe 10 years.
They're still be very expensive.
At some point, I think it's going to be commonplace.
So when it's
I don't think our
commonplace,
kids will be driving.
all the road rage is going to be directed to the people who don't have self-driving cars in 20 years.
Yeah.
What, your car doesn't drive itself?
Maybe the self-driving cars will have road rage with each other. I don't know.
Oh my
the
gosh.
AI will be doing
They're
it.
going to be honking at each other and stuff
Yeah.
just to make you feel nostalgic from
Right.
when you were younger in your driving days.
Right. But until then, it is something that people struggle with. And even if you don't struggle with full-on road rage, driving can be really frustrating.
Yeah.
So even if it's just road anger, right? That's something that we can work on too.
So why do you think that something as small as traffic or people driving causes such big emotions from people?
You drive around and you witnessing road rage from another driver perspective. If you're just driving and you see somebody having a fit of road rage, it's kind of jarring, and it really puts into perspective that I think people are just struggling with a lot, right?
Yeah.
People's mental health are struggling. People are stressed out. They're, in a rush, especially where we live in the Northeast. And I think that it's just a little thing can put somebody over the edge. And road rage is an expression of a lot of the other things that are going on in that person's life.
Yeah, I think that you kind of see who is able to manage their emotions, who is struggling in certain areas. I also think there's something about being in a big vehicle, you have your door, the frame of the car, you're kind of in your own private little bubble. I feel like it gives people maybe a false sense of power in a lot of ways because they think, oh, well, I'm in my own space, nothing can happen to me. I can honk the horn. I can yell. Because I have, not to put you on blast, but I've seen you react to people in the car, and you would never act that way if you were not in a car. You don't walk around getting mad at people like that. You only do it in a car.
Yeah, it's true.
There's got to be something to that.
Yeah, safety in the vehicle, I guess. I don't know. You know, it's sometimes I think it's just a like almost like a compulsion. Like, you know, you want to just like react or honk a horn, or, you know, there's just something about that is enticing. I don't know. Well,
I think from the situations I've seen you in where you get frustrated with other drivers, I think that it's when you feel like your safety or your family's safety is put in danger. And I think that's a big part of why people get so mad in the car, because that anger towards someone else, you're not normally in situations where you feel like somebody can like take away your sense of safety. And in the car, that could happen so easily. Somebody cuts you off, they're not paying attention, and you're like, hey, my family's in the car, you're putting me in a bad situation.
Yeah.
That's really scary, and that is prompting, I think, a lot of anger at other people that maybe in other areas of your life, like, you're just not affected by people as much.
Yeah, we were on the road the other day, and this was actually, in retrospect, it was my fault, but we were at a light, and I read the sign that said no turn on red, and I guess it only happened to be during certain hours, and I'm sitting at the light waiting for it to turn green.
And I had your back. I was like, no, can't turn on red here.
I know, and the guy behind me is just honking. And I'm like, I'm not going to go. I'm just going to, I'm going to wait until it's, and I tried to motion to him like, hey, it's a no turn on red. And then the light turned green. We end up going. And he literally, through a merge, tried to run our vehicle off the road.
That was actually terrifying.
I've never been in a situation that bad.
Yeah, that
where
was
somebody
really bad.
actually like physically like tried to run our vehicle off the road.
That was terrifying.
It was very scary.
Yeah. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is just like, yes, we were wrong in that traffic situation, but to respond that way that was another level. I actually had never seen that before.
Yeah. And it's just a good example of how quickly things can become unhinged, on the road. If he had run us off the road, the consequences of that for him would have been really very terrible.
So serious.
For us too, hope we would, our vehicle would be damaged. Maybe we would get hurt. Maybe he would get hurt. But I mean, I don't know what they consider that. Maybe like that's assault, right? Like with the deadly vehicle.
I would think at least reckless endangerment or something.
Endangerment,
right?
We actually did end up calling the police.
Yeah,
and reporting the car, but who knows what the consequences of that could be on someone's life.
That was really scary. So a lot of what's happening is when we're getting mad at people in the car, our body's going into this fight or flight response. So your amygdala interprets that there is a threat, there's a danger, like we were just talking about. Something is threatening our sense of safety, and then our adrenaline and our cortisol is just surging, and we're having this big reaction. And it's not just an emotional reaction, but it's a physical reaction. Like your heart rate is going up, your blood pressure is spiking. There's things that are physically happening to you that are also leading to, emotional responses.
Yeah, I think it's really not necessarily the situation in front of you. It's it's the feeling of the loss of control.
Yeah.
And I would encourage anybody that struggles with road rage to think about other areas of your life where maybe you have an instantaneous emotional response to a feeling of loss of control. Maybe thinking like in the workplace, with family or with friends. And that's a good exercise to do, to just kind of think about like, okay, what other areas aside from driving am I seeing the same kind of feeling of that sudden impulse of anger?
Well, it's interesting because my original theory was the way that somebody behaves in a car is very indicative of how they behave in outside life. But when we look at you in the car, it's not indicative of outside life. And it's funny because
I have a handle. I'm not like unhinged on the road.
You get mad. You honk, you yell,
I don't like mad. Scream. Sometimes it's
it gets elevated. But my point is that I am the one in our relationship who struggles with their anger more. I am someone who has to keep my anger in check. It's something I constantly have to work on. That is something that I struggle with. But I don't struggle with it in the car. You don't struggle with it in everyday life or really ever. It's just not something that you have a hard time with, but then you have a hard time in the car. So I feel like that kind of dispels the theory that I had of it's how you act in your everyday life, because I mean, this is just a one-off situation, but not necessarily.
Yeah, and that's something that I'll have to reflect on. I don't know. I'll have to take that offline and think about that one.
Well, this statistic will make you feel better. AAA, Foundation for Traffic Safety, found that 80% of drivers reported significant anger, aggression, or road rage behind the wheel at least one time this past year.
Okay.
80%.
80%, yeah. That makes... I don't know if I'm surprised about that or if that makes sense. I think it
That's
makes
high.
sense. It does sound pretty
That's
high. But if you think about like how dangerous driving actually is, I mean, like every day you do it and you just find yourself in these like crazy situations,
Well, if you lined up 10 people in a row, 8 of them would say that they had an angry outburst in their car. I mean,
it certainly makes me feel better about my angry outbursts.
Yeah, it kind of makes me feel worse because I'm like, everyone around me is just about to
nobody has control of themselves.
Everyone's just ready to freak out.
Yeah, that's so funny.
And for the record, I'm not saying that I never have experienced road rage or that I don't get mad behind the wheel, because I definitely have, and I do sometimes, but there's levels to it. So I'm trying to think of what amplifies the anger so much. We talked a little bit about you feel maybe a sense of safety. I think you feel anonymous, because as much as someone can clearly see you, they don't know who you are. They don't know where you're going. They're not going to remember who you are after this. Like we talked about the guy who came after us. I have no idea who that guy is.
Yeah.
It's not like it's your neighbor who you have to see every day. There is like a level of being anonymous to it.
Yeah, if you got those tinted windows too.
That's going to be our next step. I think that another big piece of it is not being able to communicate face to face with somebody. So if you're in a situation where, let's say, you're in the grocery store and somebody jumps in front of you in the line, well, you could say something to them. They could turn around and say to you, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you were in front of me." There could be some level of communication. When you're in a car, you really can't communicate face to face with anybody.
Just through body language, right?
Right. So you're kind of, a lot of times, could be assuming the worst about people because you can't have that conversation.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about like what people can do to reel it in, right? Like I know one thing for me when I'm feeling myself get amped up in a vehicle is, just always assume positive intent. I was taught that line back in the day, and it's something that I really always try to remind myself to do is like, you don't know what that person has going on. They could be, in a rush. Someone could be in the hospital. Their wife could be giving birth, like if they're cutting you off or they're in a rush. So I always try to just remind myself like, hey, I don't know what this person has going on in their life. Let me just, obviously they have somewhere to go. Let me just take a step back, right? It's not worth getting in some kind of altercation about or, getting worked up about.
Yeah, I think that is such a good point, because you don't know what other people are going through. I heard a line one day and it said, what if you just assumed everybody who is driving poorly is in a rush to go somewhere because they have something really exciting going on? And I've even said it to, like, while we've been in the car together, someone cuts us off, they're driving really fast, they're driving a little nutty, and I'll say, oh wow, they have somewhere so exciting to be. That's so fun for them. Maybe they're going to see a friend they haven't seen in a really long time, or I'll kind of fill in the blank of what really fun thing they could be doing. And obviously it's silly. I'm sure they're not really doing those things, but it does change your perspective a little bit of, oh, well, if I knew that someone had something really, really exciting to go to, I might just let them cut me off and rush in front of me, because good for them. I'm just going grocery shopping. You go ahead.
Right.
And it actually has helped my viewpoint on it.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it.
I think that what, kind of going back to why I think the anger is amplified, there is this sense of feeling powerless in the car, but also the sense of I am responsible for safety, whether it's for yourself or other people. Like we were saying before, you feel responsible because you have your family in the car, but you don't really have any power or control over what people are doing around you. And I think that's a scary feeling. We don't like that feeling.
Yeah. It's a loss of control. I kind of like to look at it like whenever there's a trigger, and this can happen, even outside of the car. If you look at an agitating moment as an opportunity and you kind of reframe it to practice patience, that's been a helpful reframe, of like, hey, I notice, you kind of like, the signs when you're getting worked up, you start like, feeling that inside of you, like the kind of like the rising anger meter, right? And, the triggers, when you're about to get explosive. So in that moment, just saying, you know what, let's look at this as an opportunity to practice like patience. Like I'm gonna use this annoying moment to improve myself, right? And like kind of hitting that pause button and looking at it in that way has been really helpful.
Yeah. And I would say, like anything else, that awareness of where you're at emotionally can be so big. So if okay, I was just frustrated with my kids before I left the house, and I'm someone who's prone to react strongly behind the wheel, maybe I need to be aware of that, because if my stress levels are already high, my window of tolerance is going to be really low. So there's a really, really good chance if I am frustrated at my kids, I got in a fight with my spouse, that I'm going to get behind the wheel and I'm probably not going to be the most friendly driver today.
Yeah. And that goes back to like, just like control the atmosphere, right? Like maybe in that situation, it's a good thing to like, you let me drive, right? Or whatever. I'm usually the one driving. Maybe we should flip it. I should be letting you drive.
Maybe that is part of it too, is that you are the one who's driving more. So you're just in these situations where I never drive.
There's more opportunity, right?
Yeah. I mean, we work together. Obviously, we live together. We raise our children together. We're together pretty much all the time.
Quite a bit.
So, and you get car sick, so you never drive. So it's funny. We were on vacation the other day, and I'm driving in a foreign country, and I'm laughing because I'm thinking to myself, I don't even drive in New Jersey. Like, I haven't driven in weeks, and now I'm being trusted to drive internationally. Like, who thought this was a good idea?
Yeah. But going back to that control factor, right, of like, road rage being kind of like this feeling of like you're not in control and someone else on the road is taking that control. Like, let's control the controllables, right? Like, you're driving the car, you're controlling that. You're controlling the atmosphere in the car, right? Like, and what can we do to switch the atmosphere up? We can put different music on. We can, I don't know. There's things we can do to change the mood of the vehicle, right? And that can help, calm a road rage storm. Yeah,
definitely. And I think just knowing that it's something you have to do, like I have to make my environment a little bit nicer. I have to make it a little more chill. I think just knowing that you're doing that can make a big difference when a situation comes up. Say, okay, this is a time that I need to practice this. And realizing that that reaction is not actually gaining you any control. Me yelling at someone, me honking my horn, it's really not going to make them a better driver. And if anything, it's going to work them up more. So now you have two people going at each other when one person is already struggling to drive appropriately. That's not going to end well. You're just working them up even more, and it's not going to make them do any better.
100%.
Yeah, so I think that realizing, okay, I'm not going to be able to control the people around me. I can only control myself and my environment. And if anything, I'm actually making it a lot worse. That doesn't help.
Right.
So some practical habits to reduce road rage. One, I would say check your body. Know the signs. Everybody, if they thought about it, will know what are signs that you get that your anger is starting to rise. You mentioned the anger meter before. It's basically a scale of 0 to 10 where you can start checking in with your anger symptoms. Is my jaw starting to clench? Do I have shallow breathing? Are my shoulders getting tight? That is a cue that maybe you're starting to get a little tense and that things are starting to escalate. If you can catch it at that point and you can start reducing your anger, that's a game changer right there.
Yeah, and the whole goal is like there is a point on that scale where there's no going back.
Right. Yeah, the outburst is kind of...
Once you reach like a 6 or a 7,
yeah,
like
it's tough.
It's easy to slide into a 10.
And the hard part about being in the car is I think that it happens so quickly. So when you're at home and you are fighting with your spouse, you can start to notice these signs. Unless it's something you really have a hard time with in your relationship, most couples don't go from 0 to 10 in 5 seconds. Some couples do, and that's something that they would have to work on outside of just only controlling anger. But for the most part, if you have healthy communication habits, you're going to notice it slowly escalating. And that's when you can kind of step in and say, okay, I'm noticing these physical symptoms. I need to calm myself down. When you're in a car, I feel like you don't have that same timeline.
Yeah. I mean, like if kind of talking about couples, like there's a tactic taking 20, right? Where if you feel yourself, having that anger towards your spouse and you feel like things are getting escalated, just removing yourself physically from the room for 20 minutes, that same concept can be applied to driving. Like if you feel like your road rage is getting out of control, just pull over for a couple minutes. Like you can just pull the car over.
Yep. I think that is a really good thing to do, is just pull over, take a second, remove yourself from the situation, because it's better to do that than to get yourself in a dangerous situation. So check your body. The next step would be to do some intentional breathing. That is the easiest thing that you can do in the car. You don't need any special equipment for it. You don't need to be, anywhere in particular. You could be sitting in the driver's seat and you could just take some deep breaths. I know there's so many breathing techniques out there and they really do help. But if you need something quick in the moment, just breathe deeply and slowly. If you just take a few seconds, take a few deep breaths, it really resets you. And it's a really great way to kind of pull yourself out of the situation. It kind of calms your nervous system down, and it will do it faster than trying to apply logic to the situation. Because when you're angry and it's already escalating, thinking logically is probably not, it's just not going to be super helpful in that moment if you're already at that point.
Right. Yeah, I think those are great. Very simple, quick and easy things that can really, really de-escalate you. The breathing is totally underrated. I mean, you always hear people say breathe, but are we actually practicing it?
Right. And remembering to do it. I think that's the thing, is we know we have it in our toolbox, but we don't always think to actually do it. The third suggestion is what we kind of already talked about, is reframing the story. Instead of being like, oh, that guy cut me off, they're such a jerk. Maybe they didn't see me. Maybe they are just learning how to drive and, they didn't know to check their blind spots. Maybe they're going somewhere really exciting. So reframing that story can be really helpful. When we jump to that conclusion of they're doing something because they want to hurt me, they want to put me in danger, obviously we're not going to respond very well to that.
Yeah, if you just if you picture a new driver, you picture your daughter or your son just learning how to drive and they're the one in that vehicle, your response would change, right? In how you would respond to that person. So I love that tip.
Yeah. Another tip would be practice patience outside of the car. I'm trying to think of what situation is just as frustrating as being in the car. About being on hold with customer service. Customer service rep.
Okay, yeah. Maybe I have a little problem with road rage. And if that's true, you definitely have a problem with customer service reps.
This is why we can't have cable. I can't do cable anymore. I think I've been banned from every cable service. But yes, that would be a good way to practice. So putting yourself in those situations where you're on hold, try to verify your insurance benefits. That will send anybody over the edge. Call and see what services are covered by your insurance. I think in that situation, putting them on speakerphone, trying to deal with them kindly, being really patient about it, using all the skills that we just talked about. Check your body, do some breathing, try to change the story. Look at it
as a training opportunity, right? Have fun with it. You know, go through life and your week and just find opportunities of hey, this is an opportunity where I can train this muscle of patience.
And going back to that awareness, being aware of when does it come up in other situations, because it's easy to say, well, it doesn't come up ever. But if you really think about it, maybe there are very specific things that trigger that, because that's the thing. Everybody has different triggers.
Right.
So just because something doesn't bother one person doesn't mean it's not going to bother the next person. And there's nothing wrong with the person it bothers. It's just we all have different life experiences. We're going to have different things that trigger us, different things that make us feel that lack of control. Be aware of it.
Yeah, know your triggers.
See what else is coming up throughout the week. And then I would say the last tip, which we kind of talked on, but setting yourself up for success before you get in the car, while you're in the car, and after the car too. Because I would imagine, like that guy who tried running us off the road, could you imagine what it would be like for him to come home after that? And just see his family.
Maybe it's normal, though. I
Maybe
don't know.
it's normal,
Maybe that's a normal occurrence.
But learning to calm yourself down.
His car was pretty beat up. You can
He's
kind of tell the cars that are beat up on the road. Like, I don't know.
So maybe figuring out, okay, how can I calm myself down beforehand, in the moment, but then also how can I calm myself down after? And maybe it's you pull in the driveway and you shut the music off and you just sit for a few minutes before you go in the house, before you are entering a situation that is even more stressful. If your work is a really stressful environment and you struggle because you're sitting in traffic on the way to work and you're noticing you're out of 5, you're elevated before you even get there, maybe try to get to work 5 minutes early. Just sit in the car for a few minutes, because that could really make a difference, I think, for the whole rest of the day.
Yeah, it sets the tone. Sets the tone for the day.
Yeah. There was a study from Frontiers in Psychology that was done in 2002 that said music with slower tempos can lower heart rate and stress responses by up to 15 to 20%.
Wow.
So think about what music you're listening to in the car.
Yeah. Right. Set the environment. Maybe have a road rage playlist ready on Apple Music or Spotify that you can turn on.
That's a great idea.
You have it loaded up with. You don't want heavy metal on there. Right?
Yeah, this is something you struggle with. Definitely not.
Yeah.
So I think we can kind of go into what are some of the broader lessons about stress, about being chronically stressed, and what that means, not just in the car, but just in our daily life. Because we were saying, a lot of times it happens because there is stress elsewhere that is not being managed. So what is a way that we can kind of use some of these skills in our everyday life? We talked a little bit about the customer service rep or putting ourselves in those situations. But what about the situations where maybe we're not getting to a 10, but we're still getting elevated? How can we use some of these tactics in those situations too?
Yeah, I think all of those tactics are transferable to situations that are commonly getting us agitated, right? Like, so it just goes back to like knowing those triggers, knowing what situations that you find yourself in where you're going to get worked up.
Yeah.
Every time you talk to a customer service rep,
I get
like
so
at
frustrated.
Comcast or like Verizon,
Oh my gosh.
it's,
So
you're going to get
Yes.
triggered. It's funny because like there's been times where you've been like, I don't want. You're going into the call knowing you're going to blow up.
Yes,
And
I
you're
will
like,
ask
I don't
you,
want to do this.
Can you do this? Because I don't like that version of myself. I don't want to go back there, right?
Yeah.
I've done a lot of growing and healing. I don't want to go back there. But you're the messed up one, because you will be the one to try to rile me into that mode to
Well,
get stuff done.
Listen,
sometimes
there's a time and a place for a little bit of rage.
and I'm like, no, like I don't want that side of me to come out.
So, sometimes the rage that I see come out is justice rage. It's warranted. Right?
Well, see, okay, so for me, I know that that's a big trigger.
Yeah.
If I feel like something is unjust, I'm not being treated fairly, someone else is not being treated fairly, that's when I know that I get really mad.
Yeah.
And it's just not good for me.
Yeah.
And I don't like how I feel, because then afterwards I'm thinking, okay, am I transferring this to the rest of my family? I don't want to get like that in front of the kids. So I will actually know this is something that is hard for me. And I will say, I need you to make this phone call because I don't want to deal with it. And I don't want to go back to the place. I'm out of there. I don't want to go back.
Sometimes I make you do the phone call anyway, though,
I know
because
you
it's
do.
good. It's healthy. It's good for you
I guess.
to be in those situations, to practice I'm not gonna blow up on this person, even though I'm feeling like a little bit unjust.
And I've been pretty good, actually. There was I forgot what it was. There was a situation recently, and you were like, "Oh man, like Cassie 1.0 would have lost her mind," and I didn't. I was like, so cool, calm, collected. I was like, "It's fine. Everything's
you've been
fine."
very good. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think when we talked about the insurance. Something I know is a big trigger for me is for some reason our dental insurance will always try to not cover the most basic cleanings. And I get so frustrated at them. And they're trying to charge me hundreds of dollars for getting cleanings. And I'm like, why do I have dental insurance?
What's the point of dental insurance?
And the stress that you're causing me about this. It's just, it's unjust.
It is, right. Yeah. A lot of people are triggered at work. Like work emails are a big one. Like,
Work's a big one.
Like sometimes you have to like sleep on a response.
That's big. That's really big. That is something that I definitely struggle with, that I have been trying to calm my responses down or keep them in drafts, because sometimes I will just like shoot off a message real quick. And I don't really do it at work. That's not an area I struggle in. I will do it more if I am like frustrated at like a family member or a friend or like something like that. And then afterwards I'm like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have said it like that. And I don't know about other people who struggle with this, but I know for me, I always feel so much guilt and remorse after, even if I send a text that maybe just was like a little sharp or wasn't super friendly.
Right.
And I think, oh man, if I just waited a day to send that, I don't even care about that issue anymore. And I would have been so much nicer about it.
How would your response have changed, right?
So different. And I think it doesn't mean you have to be passive. You know, you have aggression, you have passive aggressive. But then you can just still be assertive and you can still say what you need to say. But I think if you can pause, take a couple hours, take 24 hours if the time allows you, and think, okay, how do I want to respond to that? I feel like most times you're just not going to be as mad as you were when you first got whatever message it was.
Yeah. And, you know, I love how this conversation has just kind of drifted into like other life scenarios, right? Because you know, the topic of this podcast is about road rage, but really like the core of road rage applies to everything.
Yeah.
And that's why it's an everyday habit.
Yeah. And I read somewhere that the micro pause is where emotional intelligence lives. So when you can stop and kind of remove yourself from a situation, that's when you can really think intelligently about, how should I respond? What did the other person mean by this? What is the other person going through? What is going to be the ramifications of me responding a certain way? And again, it doesn't mean don't respond. It just means do it in a way that's actually helpful.
Like, and everything you said, like those three things, you know, that takes time to process, right? Like you need that pause to think through. Hey, how am I feeling? What are my next actions going to be? If I react this way, what's the consequence going to be? If I react this way, you know, so I love that line. Say it again.
It was that the micro pause is where emotional intelligence lives. And I can 100% attest to that, because I have sent many messages that I wish I didn't send. And that I was just like, if I just waited, because then the next day you just don't feel as mad about it. Or if you do still feel mad about it, how can I express my frustration? How can I express my anger, but still maintain control, still not react in a negative way? Because a lot of times what happens is, when it's like with road rage, if you respond really negatively to something, or you allow yourself get to the point where your anger is really taking over the conversation, a lot of times it's not even about what the original issue was. It's now about how you reacted.
Yeah.
So now it's, okay, I don't even care what we were originally fighting about. I'm mad that you're talking to me like this. I'm mad that you're responding this way, and you're giving the control to the other person.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like an avalanche, right? Like, it's like, I even thinking about to the times where I've gotten worked up in the car. Okay, because I got worked up in the car, maybe I drove a little dangerously, which in turn upset you, right? Like, which in turn caused a fight between us, which in turn got brought home and impacted the entire rest of the day, right? Like, so if you think about that whereas had I just taken a micropause or pulled over for a second, you know, the whole trajectory of the day would have been different.
Yep. 100%. I think that how we react to things really impacts how other people react to us. And it's not to say that you have to spend all of your time and energy thinking, okay, how is this person going to react to me? You're not responsible for other people's reactions, but you are responsible for being a little bit aware of how you're coming off in a situation.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, control the controllables.
Yeah. I think so much of mental health isn't about just what happens to us. It is about how we respond in those small daily moments. And that's why I love this theme of season 2 for the podcast is everyday habits that impact our mental health, and why I really wanted to talk about this topic, because there are these little things that people don't realize how much it impacts your stress, your anxiety, how you view the world.
Right.
But it really does. And being able to react better in these smaller moments, like you said, can make a huge difference.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I think driving is one of the most universal examples, because most of us drive. Maybe you're like me, you don't drive very often, but a lot of us drive or have to drive, you know, for our daily commute, if you're going for any reason. And it's just, I think it's such a relatable topic.
Yeah. So to summarize, right? What are the tips? What are the takeaways? We're going to
have a micropause.
We're going to try to reframe perspectives, right? Like try to assume positive intent.
We're going to take some deep breaths.
And
we're going to reset before, during, and after, depending on how much you struggle with it. If you really struggle with it, before, during, and after driving, I think is huge.
We're going to recognize our triggers, and we're going to just pull over if we get out of control.
Yeah. I think that's a really good plan.
Yeah.
So no more road rage.
No more road rage.